Hello guys! Today we are going to start with the unit number 8. So please go to the book Interchange 5th edition number 3 and look the page number 50. Never stop learning. Our objectives are discuss personal preferences and discuss way of learning and life skills. In here, exercise 1, snapshot, you have a reading. Its title is Learning, Anywhere, Anytime, for Any Reason. In here, you have this reading about this topic. After the reading, you need to answer all of those questions. After that, at exercise 2, perspectives, you have a survey. So let's go to listen the audio.
Unit 8. Never Stop Learning. Page 50. Exercise 2. Perspectives. A survey. Part A. Listen to a survey that a school is conducting about student preferences. Check the students' answers.
Okay, let's start. 1. Would you rather study on your own or join a study group? A. I'd rather study on my own. B. I'd rather join a study group. C. I'd rather do both.
I guess I'd rather join a group.
2. Would you rather take an art course or a professional course? A. I'd rather take an art course. B. I'd rather take a professional course. C. I'd rather not take either. I'd rather take a language course.
I'd rather not take either. I think I'd rather take a language course.
3. Would you prefer to take an online course or a traditional course? A. I'd prefer to take an online course. B. I'd prefer to take a traditional course. C. I'd prefer not to take either. I'd prefer to hire a private tutor.
Let's see. I'd prefer to take an online course.
Now we continue with the exercise number 3, pronunciation.
Page 51. Exercise 3. Pronunciation. Intonation in questions of choice. Listen and practice. Notice the intonation in questions of choice.
Would you prefer to study online or at a school?
Would you rather learn something fun or useful?
Good. Now please listen again and repeat.
Page 51. Exercise 3. Pronunciation. Intonation in questions of choice. Listen and practice. Notice the intonation in questions of choice.
Would you prefer to study online or at a school?
Would you rather learn something fun or useful?
So now let's continue with the grammar focus. But before, please pay attention to the following tips. Number 1. Focus your attention on the perspectives on page number 50. I mean, all of this information that you have in this page. Second, now please find examples of I'd rather and I'd prefer. You can underline all the examples that you find. Number 3. Notice that I'd is the contraction of I'd would. Number 4. Would rather and would prefer mean the same thing. Both are used with choices. Would rather is equal like would prefer. Number 5. The difference between would rather and would prefer is that would prefer takes the infinitive and would rather takes the base form. 6. Here you have the structures. The structure of would rather. Would rather plus not if it's negative plus base form of the verb. Example 1. I'd rather learn, or negative. I'd rather not study. Notice that in both examples you have the base form of the verb learn, study. The structure of would prefer. Would prefer plus not if it's negative plus infinitive. Example, I'd prefer to learn if it's positive. I'd prefer not to study if it's negative. Notice that in here we have the infinitive to learn, to study. And how do you form a short answer? Of course, I'd rather not. And how do you form a short answer? Of course, I'd rather or I'd rather not, and I'd prefer to or I'd prefer not to. So now let's go back to the grammar facts.
Page 51. Exercise 4. Grammar focus. Would rather and would prefer. Would rather takes the base form of the verb. Would prefer usually takes an infinitive. Both are followed by not in the negative.
Would you rather take an art course or a professional course?
I'd rather take an art course. I'd rather not take either. I'd rather take a language course than study art.
Would you prefer to take an online course or a traditional course?
I'd prefer to take an online course. I'd prefer not to take either.
Let's join a study group.
I'd rather not join a group. I'd rather not.
I'd prefer not to join a group. I'd prefer not to.
Now please do the exercise 4A. Complete the conversations with would and the appropriate form of the verbs. Now go to the page number 52. Exercise 5.
Page 52. Exercise 5. Listening. Do what you love. Part A. Listen to a conversation between a student and his guidance counselor. Check the suggestions the guidance counselor gives.
Hello, Yvonne. How great to see you. How are your classes going?
Well, okay, Ms. Mooney. But I think I'd rather be studying psychology. I chose civil engineering as my major, but this psychology class that I took was amazing. I'd even stay after class to talk to the professor about the material. I never do that in my other classes.
That's great. But psychology is a big change from civil engineering.
Exactly. What if I change majors and regret it later? I'm getting good grades in my engineering classes, but I'm bored. Psychology was really interesting, but it wasn't as easy. Maybe I should just do what's easy.
Don't do what's easy. Do what you love. But you only took one psychology class, right? Perhaps you need to learn more about the field.
So you think I should take more classes?
Yes, you could. Have you ever heard of informational interviews? That's an option too.
What are they?
You find people with jobs in the fields you're interested in and sit down with them and ask them about their work. You know, the day-to-day stuff. What they like, what they don't like, how many years they had to study. It's like an interview, but just to learn about the job.
That sounds great. So I could talk with a civil engineer and a psychologist?
Sure. And you could even shadow some of these professionals.
Shadow them?
Job shadowing is when you follow someone around at their job and experience it from their perspective. Think of it like an internship, but you're only watching. You can shadow someone for a few hours or several times if you'd prefer. You know, before I became a guidance counselor, I was a banker.
You were a banker, Ms. Mooney?
Yes, for 10 years. But after doing some volunteer work with finance students, I realized I'd rather help people than crunch numbers. So I did informational interviews and job shadowing, and here I am. And I love being a guidance counselor. So, what do you say? Shall we find some professionals you can talk to?
Yes, please. I need all the information I can get.
Well, now we can continue with the exercise number 7. Interchange 8. Making choices. I mean, this exercise. Then we continue with the exercise number 8. Conversation.
Page 52. Exercise 8. Conversation. It works for me. Part A. Listen and practice.
So how's your Mandarin class going?
Harder than I expected, actually. I'm finding the pronunciation very difficult.
Well, I imagine it takes a while to get it right. You know, you could improve your accent by watching movies.
That's a good idea. But how do you learn new vocabulary? I always seem to forget new words.
I learn new English words best by writing them down and reviewing them many times. I've been using this vocabulary building app. It really works for me. Look.
Maybe I should try something like that.
Now please listen again and repeat.
Page 52. Exercise 8. Conversation. It works for me. Part A. Listen and practice.
So how's your Mandarin class going?
Harder than I expected, actually. I'm finding the pronunciation very difficult.
Well, I imagine it takes a while to get it right. You know, you could improve your accent by watching movies.
That's a good idea. But how do you learn new vocabulary? I always seem to forget new words.
I learn new English words best by writing them down and reviewing them many times. I've been using this vocabulary building app. It really works for me. Look.
Maybe I should try something like that.
Now we can continue with the exercise 8B.
Page 52. Exercise 8. Part B. Listen to two other students, Rick and Nia, explain how they learn new words. Who uses technology to study? Who organizes words by category? Rick.
I keep a record of new words I come across. Then I make up study cards. I write the word on one side of the card and the meaning on the other side. Oh, and I always include at least one sentence with the word in it. Then I go through the cards whenever I have some spare time, like when I'm waiting for my laundry to dry or on the bus, and study the words until I know them by heart. Every week or so, I organize the cards into categories. You know, I put all the words together that have to do with food, or work, or home, or school, whatever I can find that my new words have in common.
Nia.
I keep a vocabulary list on my phone. It's organized alphabetically. Whenever I hear or read a new word, I add it to the list. I also try to put down some key information about the word. You know, whether it's a noun or a verb, and some examples of how it's used. I go through the list and study the words as often as I can. I really believe that the only way to learn new words, even in your own language, is by memorizing them.
Now explain how they learn new words. Who uses technology to study? Who organizes words by category? And continue with the exercise C. How do you learn new words in a foreign language? Remember to do all the exercises that I mentioned in this video. Some of them may be on your notebook, but please don't forget to take pictures to send me as a homework. That is all, guys, but please, before you go, pay attention to the following recommendations. Virus preventions. Wash your hands frequently with soap. Cover your mouth with a tissue paper when coughing or sneezing. Wear a mask if you have a cold or runny nose. See the doctor if you feel unwell. Protect yourself and those around you. Stay at home as much as possible. Avoid touching your face. Keep at least 1.5 meters away from others, as much as you can. Stop. Yes, we can stop the COVID-19 coronavirus. Keep the distance from other people. Wash your hands. Stay at home. Together we will win this fight. Blessings to you guys.